I'm Tom Vessel.
I'm Z Garcia.
I'm Roy Kenny.
And over 10 years ago, one of the most popular games to hit the board game market, putting the company Yellow on the map, and bringing Richard Garfield back to the forefront was King of Tokyo.
King of Tokyo.
Smash, smash.
King of Tokyo has sold an immense amount of copies. I would like to say it's over 1 million copies. It's very popular. A lot of mini expansions for it. And a spin-off, King of New York, is another. That's pretty much it. Honestly, there should be more King of Tokyo stuff out there.
There is more of it now, Tom.
There is. King of Monster Island. So this is a King of Tokyo-esque game. You do not need King of Tokyo to play it.
Right.
It is a standalone cooperative game.
Yep.
Because you think you're the biggest monster. Nah. There's some other big, fairly nondescript monster taking over.
It's a lava cat.
Fiery beast.
Yeah, fire dude.
Yeah, so let's show you how to play with Z.
I'm on it. I got this. To set up the game, we are going to select one of the 3 baddies that we are going to play against and set them up on the table. So we're going to start with the beginning one, the first one they recommend here, Crystal Dragon. They all, by the way, have 2 levels of difficulty with another more advanced side on the back. But we're going to start with the very first one you should play against, setting the other ones aside and putting the standee, which I'll be laying flat for this overview, here in one of the zones around the volcano, okay? So we're going to have that. We're going to set up one of these little tokens from the bag of minions there in every area around the volcano, and then the players will select their characters, and again, they'll begin in separate places, not sharing a space with the main bad guy there. So the way we win the game is by bringing the main baddie down to 0 life. In this case, it begins with 15, tracked right here. So we're trying to get him down to 0. And we lose in a few different ways. If we run out of health and begin a turn with no health, then we lose. If this bag is empty and we need to put out some more, we lose. A couple of things like that, all right? So we are going to be taking turns, each player around the table, until one of those 2 or one of those few things happens, and we either win or lose. So the first phase is the boss phase in the game. We are going to begin that by activating any powers that the boss has over here. As the boss gains these stars, which again begin at 0, they're going to open up abilities. And these abilities are going to be sort of always on things. So as soon as they have a single one, for example, then the boss says in first person, if I move to a zone with no dice, I continue moving. And then Crystal Blast over here, if I make a monster in an adjacent zone lose hearts, it is pushed 1 zone away from me, and so on. So it will gain and unlock abilities. So that's the first thing. Then we're going to roll available dice. These dice are the ones for the bosses, and it tells you how many they get for the entire game. We're going to roll these into the volcano, and they're going to come out in random places. So we're going to do that, like so. Anywhere they go, they stay. If they go off the board or get stuck, you just re-roll them. And now we are going to move the boss. The boss is going to move, following a few different rules, to the zone, counting where he is and the adjacent ones, that has the most dice. If that is where he is already, then he will simply stay there. If there are no dice, he just moves clockwise and a couple of other things like that. So that's where he's going to stay because, well, all the dice ended up where he currently is. Now he is going to activate that area where he is. We're going to activate any minions, which come in a few different varieties. These little guys hit any monsters, any of us who are there. These guys hit everyone on the board for 1. And then there is these little fellas who protect the other minions, these little umbrella guys. All right. So this guy hits everybody. That means all of the players are going to take their player boards and take 1 hit down to 9. Right away, we start with 9. And then we are going to activate, after these guys, all of the dice in there. The dice are going to be the stars. So over here we've got, this one gives the Crystal Dragon here 2 stars, so we'll give him 2. And that die comes off the board. This one over here gives him 1 more and brings out a minion. So we'll grab the bag here, shake it up, and add 1 more to that area. Look at that, it's another cannon guy. And then the last one here puts out one of these crystals. And these are another way we might lose the game. This is going to go right here. If ever there are 3, they go away, and instead we build one of these pylons, and having 3 of these on the board is an instant loss. So this is done there. Now that we've done all of that, we are ready for the players to take a turn. So let's say it's going to be Hades right here who is taking a turn. You are going to roll 6 dice, and you'll take these and roll them up. And you are going to get re-rolls as in the usual King of Tokyo, King of series, I should say, King of New York. Same thing. You get this roll and 2 re-rolls above and beyond that if you want them. The different faces will then, once you are done rolling, be triggered. And so let's go ahead and talk about what they do. Okay, so the hearts, which are these right here, are going to give +1 life to a monster in your zone. That means you can give them to someone else if they're sharing a space with you. So that's those. We've got the lightning that didn't get rolled, but that one there will give you energy based on how many you've got. So a single one is 1. 2 of these will give you 3. 3 of them would give you 6, and so on. And those are energy that you take here as cubes and will allow you to buy these cards for special abilities. Then we've got the foot and the paw. These 2 can be used to deal damage to both the boss and the minions. Unfortunately, there is a ranking to the order in which you must deal damage. You have to deal them to these protectors first, then all of the other minions. These fellas over here. And then finally, you can damage the boss. The foot is 1 damage, the paw is 2, but you can also use the foot to move yourself or someone else in your area to one adjacent space. You could, move yourself over or kick one of your friends over to the next zone. We've got the wrenches. If you've got 3 or 4 of these, then you can get some support. You can grab one of these tiles here, flip it over, and put it in your zone here in one of these places. As you see, it's got the shape of a ship, which is going to be helping you. So let's say I had 3 of those. I could put that right here. That is going to give me a star, which is the wild. Well, no, it's this one here for the energy, the points, and an energy. So if I'm in that area, any player can on their turn flip this tile over and utilize what's on it. So I could do that, and it's as though I rolled this, and I get 1 energy. Any further turns, if someone is there and they want to activate this again, they could, but all they do on that turn is flip it back over, basically turn it back on again, so that later on it can be utilized once more. So that's what these do, and you can populate the entire board with these things. Be aware that these pillars take up these spaces. So if I wanted to, if I had to put one of these out, it would have to take over one of these places, and if both were populated by ships, and I had to put one there, then unfortunately I have to lose one of these to put out the big pillar here, the monolith. All right, so that's what these all do. And then lastly, like I said, is the star here, which is going to give you stars right there, and you have the option of taking 1, and if you want to, you can remove a die from where you are and take another star. The problem with that is, at the beginning of the turn, as you already saw, all of these dice get rolled into the volcano, and it becomes unpredictable where they're going to be. You might want to do that to remove it and race up the stars, but you are, of course, then giving up a little control in order to do so. Now, what do the stars do for us, the players? I've already explained what they do for the bad guy. They give him these abilities. But what do they do for us? Well, in this game, at the beginning of the game, I'm going to shuffle up these sheets here, and you're going to select a number of them equal to the player's +1. So 4 of these, for example, would be in the game. As soon as anybody has any of these stars, any victory points, right, you are going to select one of these, and they are going to be help that you get. So you could take the medbots or the media, the army, the mad scientists. There's a couple of others. And this is very much like his leveling up. As you are crossing various thresholds, you will have abilities as well. So for example, let's say as soon as I get 2 points, I go ahead and grab the medbots here. Well, if I have 1 point or more, I have this first aid ability. If you keep at least 1 heart for your roll, gain an extra heart. Fantastic. As soon as I have 5 or more, I can do this triage ability. Gain 1 heart for each minion you defeat during your turn. Okay. 10 or more, Med-Net. You can heal other monsters anywhere on the island, and so on. Of course, at the very top, there'll be incredibly powerful things. And so the media will manipulate a few different things based on the stars, the fame, right? We've got the army, which is all about attacking adjacent zones, having roles be more powerful, that sort of thing. Mad scientists will do all sorts of chaotic and crazy things. And we've got the last two, of course, are the ape monsters here and the ninjas. So again, you get some random ones. They are then available, and you can take one as soon as you have any stars. And that's generally the game. So again, monster phase, where the monster is going to activate any of these that have been turned on. He will take any dice that are outside. He will roll them. He will then move to wherever there are more dice. He will activate all of these little guys in there and all of the dice, bringing them off the board. Then the player, whoever's turn it is, will take a turn rolling dice, activating those dice, moving around, attacking, getting points, claiming one of these, all sorts of things. If you have a die you roll, by the way, and choose not to use it or have no real good reason to use it, you can lock it where you are. If you have one of these that's open, you can leave a die there, and either you or someone else later on, if they're in that space, could unlock this and utilize it for that round as though they had rolled it themselves. So you can help each other out that way by leaving things around the board so you can come back and use them. And that's pretty much the flow of the game. Take down the baddie and you win the entire thing.
The King of Tokyo connection here is you can move the monsters back and forth. That doesn't matter. The monsters in here can be using King of Tokyo,
right,
and vice versa, because they're literally just
stat dials, right?
A stat dial, right? It doesn't matter.
It's nice. It's a nice touch, and I get that. I can appreciate that. I think, unfortunately, I do feel like they are sacrificing some usability for the sake of it being not just King of Monster Island, but King of Monster Island and 4 or 5 new characters for King of Blank.
Ah, yeah.
You know what I mean? The standees are really annoying in this game, and they definitely obscure a lot of that board. In King of Tokyo, it doesn't matter. The board is just, you don't need it. You could say, I'm in Tokyo. I'll put it there. You don't need, it doesn't matter that it's a standee. I think in this game, those big standees do obscure what's happening.
Well, I was also going to say, because they're now stretching the number of monsters they have, they've used the cool monsters, King Kong and Godzilla, whatever their versions of those are.
Yeah.
They're not putting them in this game, and I'm like, oh man, this is where I would want to fight against.
Bring them in.
King, right. Well, yeah, I guess you can do that, but not if you buy it standalone.
Right. But you're talking about the bad guys you're fighting against?
Well, no, I thought that the ones you put in here, yeah, there's a Stranger Thing monster and a couple other monsters, but they're more odd monsters. I think the big monsters you fight against are fairly nondescript. If you say we're fighting this one, I'd be like, I guess I don't actually know the difference between the three of them.
It's a lava dragon or a lava rock beast.
Yeah, it's mechanical.
A lava demon. Yeah.
But I do like the production of the game. I love that little dice volcano thing. That works really well. The dice are nice. They're pretty easy to understand. I love the art a lot.
Oh, for sure.
On the new power cards, and also on those, what are those cards? The allies. I love the ally art cards.
I will say the cards, the new cards, this is not something I've noticed in the old King of Tokyos. Maybe they've done it. They now have dice, like giant dice, as part of the artwork.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like you have like a helicopter, a little helicopter that's like carrying a giant King of Tokyo, King of whatever die.
You normally hate that.
Yeah, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, guys. Is that giant die in game? Like, does it exist in this world?
The military's supplying extra dice to you, obviously. That's how it works.
You know, that's just but what am I gonna get hung up about? You know,
Godzilla always carried dice
die
around with
rolling
them, so.
game. But it is a weird thing, which I have not seen before.
King of Tokyo is a really easy game.
Yeah,
I can teach King of Tokyo to anybody anywhere, especially if they played Yahtzee. I'm like, hey, it's like Yahtzee, but we fight each other. I think this game is 2 times, maybe 3 times the number of rules.
Yes.
There's a lot more going on in this.
Yes.
It's the complexity level, especially on dropping those monster dice in, like the whole bad guy turn. How you move the monster, what the different things do. That concerns me slightly. It says 10 and up, and that's true, but I would not give it to 10-year-olds on their own.
To play by themselves? No, probably not.
I think
there's a lot. It's very procedural, that breakdown.
Yeah.
To the fact that they include this quite large player aid on the back of every one of those, I don't know, cards you can acquire when you get your stars.
Yeah, but like even in my second game of this, I was like, okay, so the monster. I just was like trying to remember the steps of the monster
It
turn.
didn't seem too difficult for me overall. I mean, most cooperative games have that whole bad guy phase, then good guy phase. To me, it was just like, oh, you drop a couple die, and depending on where he moves, he just moves wherever the most dice are or whatever. It wasn't too bad. Like once I had played it several times.
It's weird though. The steps, the way they're described,
right? Because it's like you have to trigger his power.
He goes to the
and
one.
then it does this.
So
and then
you
he'll go
check
there.
the three of the three where he is and the two neighbors. He goes to the one that has the most dice.
Right, and he'll go clockwise.
That's step one.
If there's a tie.
If there's a tie, he goes clockwise. Step 2, if there are no dice in any of those 3.
Right.
Then step 3, if there is a tie for dice. And then oftentimes his own powers that get unlocked bend and break those rules.
Yeah.
There's a lot of checking powers.
I do feel like this is definitely more of a gamerish style game overall. I mean, I guess if you were looking for like it to be the same weight or the same like gateway-ish or like welcoming game that King of Tokyo was, this is going to be like more of a next step game for somebody,
That's the thing, right?
This is going to be for somebody who's played a bunch of King of Tokyo and wants to play it cooperatively now. They'd be able to jump into this a lot easier than somebody who went this straight as their first game. I don't know that I would do this as their first game.
I disagree with that. I don't think you go from King of Tokyo to this.
Really?
Without missing a beat. I think you go from King of Tokyo 10 years ago, whenever that was, to you played a bunch of other games now, cooperative games included because they're very popular, and now you jump into this and you go, oh, look at that. They made King of Tokyo cooperative.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
To be fair, I don't actually have a problem with the complexity of this game. I think the complexity is fine. I think it's simpler than a lot of cooperative games. I just am pointing this out because this is going to be on the shelf next to King of Tokyo.
Right.
And you go and you be like, oh, I love King of Tokyo, I'll grab this. You may be slightly overwhelmed by the complexity, but it's not overly complex.
I think if you have if you have an adult running the game for like kids, it won't be that hard at all. You're just like, oh, let me do the bad guy stuff real quick or help you out with that each time. I think they'll be able to do the dice chucking part just fine.
They have to keep track of a lot of stuff. There's all the, again, as you get stars, you unlock the abilities on your board, more cards.
Yeah, but you are coming from someone who played Magic the Gathering extensively, and you're used to keeping 85 rules in your head. I'm telling you from a family perspective, this will trick up a few people.
A lot of times I learn games from you guys here, and this I learned it from the rule book, and it didn't seem like it was as complex as you guys are making out.
Again, I'm not saying this is an 8 on a complexity scale. I'm just saying that compared to King of Tokyo, it's more complex.
Right,
That's all.
that is true.
Yes.
Now, the gameplay itself, I really enjoyed it, and I was kind of expecting not to. There's a few things that made me enjoy it. I like the King of Tokyo roll dice thing. I've always enjoyed that.
Yeah.
This gets rid of the point part. I don't care. In King of Tokyo, I just want to fight. The points works, but it makes it a better game.
That's sort of the one thing you really weren't a big fan of. You'd never go for that.
Right. I just want to fight, and I love the allies.
Yeah.
So in King of Tokyo, you add in there's an expansion for King of Tokyo that adds in the power up expansion, which adds in powers, and I think that's cool.
Yes.
This gives you that on a single card. You take this card, you're like, oh, I'm the guy who's really good at upgrading cards now.
I'm the guy who's really good at healing this time, that sort of thing.
And I love those. I think the art's good on them. I like going up on them. I don't know how you get to the top on one of them.
Yeah, you've already lost the game if you get to the top end.
Or you've won.
But you just feel unique and unlocking special abilities that makes rolling the dice good because now there's 2 ways to unlock abilities on my ally card and by buying power-up cards.
Right.
Yes.
Which is good because this game is, I think the easy monster is very beatable.
Right, yeah.
Once you go past that point, it's not an easy game.
I think it's very interesting because you have to do a lot of cooperation. And another thing that's interesting about this too is that they changed up the way that the power dice works where it multiplies now. Where if
the
you have
energy
one,
itself,
the energy itself. So you can get more energy, but you should never go for just one energy. Like you're allowed to save dice on spaces and other monsters are allowed to go there and use those dice. So it's like, why would I get 1 energy when I could save it and let somebody else get 2 energy, 3 energy, 4 energy, 5 energy, you know? And there's a very interesting cooperative nature because it's like, how do you make this monster smashing game cooperative? It's by being able to save dice for the other players.
Yes, I agree.
And be able to run around in circles and be able to try to like cooperatively math that stuff out is a lot of fun for me in the game. And I think it's interesting how they kind of did that with the same sort of dice mechanism.
Yeah, how do you make it cooperative without it just us targeting a single monster, but actually create cooperation?
Right.
I think they really did that well with the saving of the dice and those little ships that you can activate.
Yeah.
And later on, it takes a whole turn just to basically, flip it back over again and get it ready again.
Right.
Both of those things really work well in order to bring people together. Now, the funny flip side of that is that my favorite player count for this is 1.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And in fact, my score would have been lower if I had not just recently taken it and just played solo.
You liked it a lot, Solo.
I liked it a lot more solo. I thought solo was better because it is. I don't know. It felt a little punchier. I could still quote unquote cooperate with
Do you
myself.
still play 2 monsters when you do that?
I
or
played
just play
one.
Oh, gotcha.
But I could leave dice still.
Yeah.
And just walk away. And later on, if I'm coming through, boom, I got something I can pick up.
That does sound fun. And I also think I haven't played it with 1, but it just goes to 5. I've not played it with 5, and I won't.
That sounds
Because there's
insane.
just too much. It's going to be more chaotic because I can set you up a little bit, but I can't say you do this. I think 3 would be my max, actually.
Yeah, I've played it mostly at 2, and I really enjoyed the cooperation back and forth as we did all the different stuff. And I do like, too, how there's a little bit of, like, manipulating how the monster moves in the game as well, because it has a mechanic where you can spend your basically your fame or whatever to kind of like take the glory from the monster and kind of like take dice off the board, which is like, oh, there's less here. It might randomly roll back into that spot, you don't know, but you can kind of like manipulate how they move. So you can be like, oh, we're gonna save up a bunch of damage dice here and then try to move him to that spot and then go over there and smack him really hard one time. You can have all those interesting things, and then you're just constantly having to get rid of waves and waves of minions. It's an interesting game, and I think there's a lot of meaningful decisions you can have in it.
I could see it being grindy for people.
Yeah.
The minions from the bag thing.
You have to take care of them.
Every time, like, you clear them all from here, like you're attacking him, and you have just enough damage to clear just minions, maybe peg him for 1 point. Boom. Okay, great. And then next time he moves here where there are 6 more minions. You're like, come on, I just did this. So it's real grindy, and you can have a game of it that just wears you down.
I can see that happening too, especially if you play the one monster that has all the extra armor. I actually will never play that one again because I would rather play, this is just a personal thing, I'd rather play a big monster with a lot of hit points that I'm chipping away at them, but at least I'm doing it rather than the ding, I did nothing. Ding, I did nothing. Oh, I did 1. That's less exciting for me. But again, there's 3 monsters with different levels for each, so there's a lot of that. A lot of diversity in the game. All right, what do you think?
I'm coming in at a 7. I like it. I think it's a solid game. Again, I preferred Solitaire, and it definitely took that solo play for me to go into a 7, because I was okay with it. I don't know if I would necessarily recommend this out and out to someone who likes King of Tokyo or King of New York. I think you need to...
Maybe King of New York.
You need to like co-op games, that's obvious though, but you need to also be okay with a little fiddly, a little board obstructing cardboard standees that are way too big, but need to be like that because, hey, you can put them in King of Tokyo. You need to be okay with a lot of things that you don't get in King of Tokyo or King of New York. You need to have grown past that game to really get into this game and enjoy it. And that's fine. Most people who played that when it came out are at that point, likely. There's a lot of co-op games I like more than this, but you know what? I thought it was a pretty fun solo game. So there you go. I recommend it, definitely the solo, and I assume as a 2-player game, I played 3 and solo. I assume 2 is probably all right also.
I'm giving it an 8. I really like it. I'm a little cool on co-op games these days because a lot of them feel very procedural, and this one is that, but I still get to roll dice. I still get to be like, awesome. And you sometimes have an awesome turn where I rolled these dice, and then I moved here and picked up these dice, and then, I played this power-up card, and then I used my band of apes who's helping me out. And that's fun.
Right.
So for me, this is a nice progression from King of Tokyo. I know we keep saying, King of Tokyo, and some people might say, well, they're definitely marketed to the same people.
Of course.
But they're very different because I really have to reorient myself when I'm playing this to go, oh, I do want to help Roy.
Right, for sure.
Not punch him in the face the whole
you have
game.
to, or
Like
you're
you mentioned,
not
that
gonna make
giving energy to someone else, and I was thinking, I don't want to give energy to someone else. Oh, it's co-op. You're right.
Yep.
So there is that in this game. In the other one, you're just like, yeah, I have an extra dice now, and a lot of this stuff is cool. I think it's a neat production. There's a lot of good things. I like to see more of this from Yellow with King of Tokyo. I think it's a vastly unexplored franchise for whatever reason. They have not done more with it, but I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for me, I'm an 8. Also, I really enjoyed the game. I like the fact that you're cooperating in the game and you're figuring out how to like chase down this monster, but maybe avoid his certain attacks, and just you got to take care of those minions constantly. I like King of Tokyo. I've been enjoying it even more because I played it more with my girlfriends and kids recently. So coming into this as a cooperative version, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I haven't played it with my kids yet, but I know that it'll probably not be too hard to get into, and I'll probably have a lot of fun with it. So 8 for me. King of Monster Island.
Do you guys like those cards that are event cards that just come out and they do something good or something bad?
Nah, they're okay. Event cards for me in games are kind of mad, no matter what the
It's
game
weird
is.
that they just come out and happen.
Right.
You
yeah.
could have like real swingy boop, 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 boop.
You can. Well, you can
Yeah.
also just not play with
Pull them out, yeah.
So, well, there you go. That's King of Monster Island. I'm Tom Vassell,
I'm Z Garcia.
I'm Roy Kennedy.
and we're all monsters.